how to use the scroll bar in Excel to extract off to the side just a portion of your data set. As we can notice, here to the left, I have my entire data set, my sales report, let's say, and it has many different rows. And I want to just extract a portion, the one that is being highlighted here for me, to the side, because I want to create a presentation here in Excel, or a dashboard, or a different report to make some analysis. And whenever I click in this scroll bar up or down, the data that I have in the data set are going to be extracted off to this little table right here, week and sales, because I don't want to extract everything, but just a portion of the entire data, right? First of all, to create a scroll bar in Excel, we're gonna need to have access to the developer tab. So you can go to Home tab, and in any blank spot, you can right click and go to customize the ribbon. Here you can use, instead of popular commands, main tabs. Now you can find the developer, click add, and then click OK. Simple as that. This is how you can enable the developer tab. Now we can go here to insert, and we're gonna have many different tools, such as the scroll bar. Click, and then click in the screen, hold and drag to make the area of the scroll bar. Let me drag a little bit up. Okay, I think this is perfect. Now what we can do is, as we can notice, if I click down or up, nothing is going to change here in the spreadsheet, because I need to right click in the scroll bar and go to format control. I'm going to have the cell link option that is very important and is going to be responsible to make the changes in the data set. So let me click in this upper arrow, and maybe I can click in this cell to the right here. Doesn't matter, any cell that you choose, okay? You can use any reference. Down arrow, and another change that we can do is the minimum value can start with the number 2. You're gonna understand why, okay? Number 2. And the maximum value, I think it's important to use a number that is larger than the quantity of rows that you have. So let's say your data set has 50 rows. So it's important to use a number more than 50, because that way you can bring all the rows that you have, right? So let me use maybe 800 because I don't have that many rows, and then OK. And that's it. Now, whenever I click up or down, we can see that the number is going to dynamically change for us. If I click down, the number is going to move up. And if I click up, the number is going to decrease, okay? Now, let me go back here to the 2, that is the minimum value that I can use. And then, why 2 is important? Why not 1 or 0? Because 2 is the first row where I have my first information, the second row. This is why the number 2 is important, instead of using the number 1, where I have the headers, or 0 that not even exist here in the spreadsheet. Okay, so this is why 2 is very important, because 2 is make a reference to the second row. And how can I now bring the second row, because 2 is the number that I have, off to the side, just right here, for example. But let me first of all start with the headers. So I'm gonna have week and sales, or you can either use week and quantity or sales and quantity, doesn't matter. You can use any different column. But let me stick with week and sales. I'm gonna copy and I'm gonna paste right here, just to make it easier, okay? Let me select both of those columns in between one and another, click, hold, and drag to the right to make sure I can increase the width of those columns. Now I need to retrieve as result the second row here as the data, because the number 2 is what I have as result. So let me use a function called =index. Index, double click, 1, 2. As the array, I want to use the entire column A, like this. Comma, as the row number that I want to retrieve is going to be the second row. But instead of typing manually the number 2 within the function, I can, of course, click over this cell right here, because this number is going to dynamically change whenever I whenever I play with the scroll bar. Let me close parentheses and then enter. Simple as that. Now let's see what's going to happen if I go down with the scroll bar. As we can clearly see, the weeks are going to change, so it's working. Now let's do the same thing for the sales. =index, the array now is going to be the column B, comma, and the number again is going to be the same. Enter. Yeah, everything is working. Now how can I do it for all the rows that I want to retrieve in this small table? I can do something similar. However, Instead of using now the number 2, underneath this number, I can use equal sign, the previous number, 2, add to 1 unity, plus 1, enter. Because that way I can return the next row, and so forth. So I want to have 7 different rows, because that way I'm going to have 7 different weeks. Let me bring this formula down now. Okay, one more time. Yeah, I think this is perfect. Let me select all the sales and change the format here within the Home tab into a currency one, like this. Yeah, now, as we can see, it's working. Whenever I move down or up, this little scroll bar right here, coupled with the index function, is going to retrieve a portion of my data. Now let's add here a chart, for example. Let me select this small table and go to Insert, and then I can use a column chart like this. Let me bring this chart up and put it above the calculations underneath, because that way nobody's going to see the calculus that we did right here. I can also do some changes in the chart. So right click, go to Format Chart area. I can use as border a solid line with a black color. And if you have in your Excel version, you can also use this option right here, rounded corners. So let me click here, okay. And let me click in the column 2 and go to solid line. I want to use a bluish color, and maybe I can, as the width, use a larger number, such as 12, for example. Let me change the color to this blue right here. Okay, let me close. Yeah, now this is our chart in Excel. And as we can see, the chart is connected with the scroll bar, as also the table is connected, okay? Now, the last thing that we can do here to match with this first sheet is whenever I move down or move up, as we can see, there is a highlight here going on in the data set. Moving up or down depends on the scroll bar position, right? So how can we create this same conditional formatting in Excel? Something that we can do is, right now, this small table is starting with the week 10, going up to the week 16, right? So those are the weeks. And everything in between 10 and 16 also needs to be highlighted. So what I can do is, I can check if the week that I have in this column is equal to the weeks that I have here. And if it's true, I can highlight the entire row. But to do it, we can use the equals sign and then CountIF function. Let me double click right here. 1, 2. Of course, maybe it can be many different ways to get the same result. However, I think the CountIF is a very easy way to do it. The range that I want to use is the column H, where I have, as we can see, or even better, let me, instead of using the column H, I want to use just the weeks, the data set without select the headers, right? And then I can use the F4 key to lock this reference. And that way I always going to keep up with this reference. The reference is not going to move down or up. It will always remain right here. So this is why input the $sign with the F4 key is very important. Comma. Now my criteria is going to be the first cell and then enter. I have 0 as result, but as I drag this formula down, I'm gonna have different results, such as 1, for example. And 1 indicates that those weeks where I have the number 1 as the result, it's because are the same weeks that I have in my small table to the right. So now what I can do is, I can select everything that I want to apply the conditional formatting. So the data set, and then I can go to Home tab, conditional formatting, new rule, and within these new options, I can choose the last one, use a formula to determine which cells to format. Within the formula bar, equal sign, whenever the value that I have right here, the first cell, is equal to the number 1, it's because the week is the same, the week in the data set is the same that I have in my small table. But something that we need to be mindful is, I need to get rid of the second $sign, the one before the number 1, because I want to apply this conditional formatting not just for the first row, the row number 1, but for all the rows that I have. Format, fill, maybe I can use a yellowish color. Font, I can use a bold one. And then OK. OK again. And yeah, that's it. And if you want to, you can also click in the column E and change the font to a white one, because the way nobody's going to see what you did here as the calculations. And whenever I change the scroll bar down or up, as we can see, the highlight is also going to follow along the position of the scroll bar. And that's it. This is how we can use a scroll bar in Excel to create a small table that is actually extracting off to the side a portion of the data set. And also, this is how we can use a chart with the scroll bar and also the conditional formatting in Excel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or any suggestions to the next videos, let me know, comment down below, and I see you tomorrow, because every day has a new video.